The Demon King leads a ruthless campaign to wipe out humanity, commanding a vast demon army that devastates kingdom after kingdom. In a final attempt to end the war, the hero Kyle and his allies storm the Demon King's castle and manage to defeat him, but the victory comes at a terrible cost. Kyle loses everything in the war. His friends, family, loved ones, and comrades all die, leaving him alone and mortally wounded. Just as Kyle lies dying in one of the Demon King's chambers, he notices a strange gem nearby. With his last strength, he grabs it, and a sudden flash of light engulfs him, sending him back into the past. Later, Kyle wakes up in his younger body and slowly realizes what has happened. Just then, his close friend Lisa arrives at the door and calls out to check on him. She looks exactly the way he remembers, gentle, warm, and full of life, and the sight leaves him frozen. In the future, he remembers, she died in the war, and the emotions hit him all at once. Without thinking, he rushes forward and pulls her into a tight hug, his arms shaking as he holds her, as if afraid she might disappear again. Lisa is completely caught off guard. In this time, they have never been this close before, and the sudden embrace turns her bright red with shock. Flustered and panicking, she pushes him away and lands a sharp kick to his stomach before rushing out of the room, clearly embarrassed and confused. Kyle lies there for a moment, still struggling to understand what is happening, until his eyes fall on something beside his pillow, the same crimson gemstone from the throne room. Seeing it clears his doubts. This is not a dream. He rushes to the window and looks outside, where the town lies untouched, the streets whole, and the home standing peacefully with no smoke rising anywhere. The burning future he remembers is gone, and a quiet realization settles in his mind. The gemstone did not simply save him, it sent him back in time. He quickly pieces the moment together and realizes this is 4 years before the Great Invasion ever began. As the thought sinks in, his stomach suddenly growls with a hunger he has not felt in years, and he wanders into the dining room, where a table full of food waits. The smell pulls him forward, and the moment he takes the first bite, memories flood back because every mouthful tastes like home, and before long, he finishes everything on the table. Footsteps approach and someone gasps behind him at the sight of the empty plates, before starting to search the bowls for leftovers. Kyle slowly turns and recognizes the face instantly. It is Theron, his old friend and battle partner. For a moment, the world feels still, but Kyle manages to ask for the date, and when the answer comes, the 24th day of the 5th month, year 2823, the words strike him with sudden clarity, because it is not only the past, it is his birthday. Theron laughs and says the food must have been a birthday gift, before wandering off while joking that maybe Lisa would cook if he begged hard enough, leaving Kyle standing there with disbelief and hope slowly filling his chest as he realizes the truth. The gemstone has done something no human magic should be able to do. Later, Kyle walks through the quiet hallways of his old home and eventually reaches his office. Inside, he sees a woman sitting beside a shelf, calmly flipping through the pages of a book, and the moment he recognizes her, his breath catches in his throat. It is his mother, Syra, her eyes tired from a long night of study, unaware of how much time has passed. Kyle remains still for a moment, simply taking in the sight of her. In the future, he remembers, she died during the war, yet now she sits there alive as if nothing ever happened. Syra is still one of the greatest mages in the city, respected for both her deep knowledge and her extraordinary power. Hoping to understand what has happened to him, Kyle speaks with her and asks about time magic. Syra explains that such magic does exist, but even the greatest archmages can only turn time back by a few seconds at most, and anything beyond that is considered impossible. Her answer gives Kyle something to think about, and as he listens, the truth slowly begins to form in his mind. The Demon King did not start the Great Invasion for conquest alone. The war was also meant to gather life force. Every life lost in battle became energy, and that energy was stored within the red gemstone, the divine dragon heart, until it finally held enough power to accomplish true time travel. And somehow, that power has now been used by him. The memories of the original timeline return clearly to his mind. His hometown was the first to fall during the invasion, and Lise died there as well, a tragedy that still lies 3 years in the future from this moment. The weight of that knowledge settles heavily on his shoulders as he realizes what it means. The world must be saved, yet his situation has changed. He is 4 years younger. The power of the hero is gone, and the holy sword lies shattered in a future that no longer exists. The road ahead will not be easy, but one thing is different now. This time, he has time. Next day, Kyle wakes at dawn and heads outside to train. Closing his eyes, he recalls the final battle with the Demon King, replaying the fight in his mind as if the enemy stands before him once again. They clash in his imagination, yet the strain feels real. Each blow from the Demon King feels heavy, forcing the breath from his lungs, and Kyle quickly realizes how slow his body has become. To keep up, he relies on magic to sharpen his speed and agility, charging forward again and again in practice battles inside his mind. For a brief moment, he seems to gain the upper hand, but the illusion shatters when a perfect counter sends him crashing onto the ground. Lying there, breathing hard with sweat covering his face, he accepts a difficult truth. He will have to train harder than ever. Not far away, Lise and Theron watch the entire scene from behind a cluster of bushes, whispering to each other in disbelief. As they watch, Theron's mother, Layla, walks by and pauses when she notices Kyle in the distance, moving as if he were in the middle of a strict military drill. Curious, she asks what is going on, but neither Lise nor Theron has an answer. Layla simply chuckles and remarks that when a boy suddenly gains this much motivation, a girl is usually involved. Her teasing lands harder than expected, and Lisa's face immediately turns red. Embarrassed and irritated by the strange feeling twisting in her chest, Lise storms over to Kyle and grabs the front of his shirt, demanding to know which girl he has been thinking about. But before Kyle can answer, the sudden shaking makes him lose control, and he ends up throwing up his breakfast right in front of her. Later, to make up for the chaos, Lisa prepares a large lunch, and everyone gathers to eat together, allowing the awkward tension to fade for the moment. While the others talk, Kyle quietly reflects on the future he remembers and realizes that raw strength alone will not stop the coming war. To change the fate of the world, he will need allies, reputation, and the support of powerful people, which means his next destination must be the capital. He decides to go there and plans to bring Theron with him. When he explains the plan to Layla, the woman who has trained him for years, she agrees immediately and even insists that Theron should accompany him. Kyle feels relieved because that was exactly what he had hoped for, while Theron groans the moment he hears the news and complains that no one ever bothers asking whether he actually wants to go. Outside, Kyle tells Lisa about his plan to leave for the capital, but before she can react, he stops her and makes one thing clear: she cannot come with him. There will be no arguing and no begging. Lisa immediately gets angry, especially when she learns that Theron is allowed to go while she is not. Kyle explains his reason calmly. She means too much to him, and he wants her to stay somewhere safe because the road ahead will be dangerous, and he refuses to risk her life. Before she can respond, he suddenly leans forward and kisses her. The world seems to stop for a moment, as her face turns bright red and her heart begins to race, the anger fading away in an instant. Kyle promises that when everything is over, he will return to her first, and although she doesn't cry, her eyes shine as she gives him a single request: come back alive. Before leaving town, they stop by the market for a few last supplies. As Kyle walks through the crowd with the others, his attention suddenly locks onto someone standing alone near a fruit stall, an elf girl whose calm and graceful presence makes her stand out from everyone around her. Without a word, Kyle breaks away from the group and walks straight toward her. Memories rush back, quiet conversations, shared trust, and the moment she whispered her true name to him. Lost in those memories, Kyle makes a mistake and says the name aloud: Excess. The elf freezes instantly because that name is secret, known only to her family, and her hand moves toward her weapon. Realizing what he has done, Kyle quickly grabs her wrist and casts a soft sleep spell, catching her as she collapses into his arms. Behind him, Lise arrives just in time to see the scene, and the look on her face says everything. She immediately decides she is coming along on the journey after all. The elf wakes later at Kyle's house and sits up immediately, her eyes burning with anger as she demands to know how he knows her true name, a secret that holds power among elves. Kyle cannot tell her the truth, that years from now they will grow close and she will reveal it herself. So instead, he promises that one day he will explain everything. The answer does little to calm her, and to prove he means no harm, he offers something extreme, a binding magical contract that would kill him if he ever tried to use her name against her. Shock spreads across her face, because most people do not even know such magic exists. She explains that the ritual can only be performed under a full moon, which is still several days away, and agrees to remain in town until then. Kyle surprises her again by saying they are leaving tomorrow and cannot afford to wait. After a long stare, she decides to join them, while Lise, still suspicious, comes along as well, and keeps a close watch on the elf the entire time. Their journey begins with a stop at the Sunguard Mountains, where an ancient labyrinth lies hidden deep within the peaks. Kyle remembers it from his previous life, including every trap and monster inside, and instead of entering through the main gate, he leads the group to a hidden point outside the mountain, where he carves a tunnel directly into the treasure chamber. Gold, jewels, and magical artifacts fill the room, instantly solving his money problem. But Kyle's real goal lies deeper. While the others admire the treasure, Kyle quietly slips into a hidden chamber he remembers. A faint light glows in the darkness where the real prize waits, the sentient holy sword from his past. Just as he approaches, the weapon reacts to him and transforms from a blade into the form of a young girl standing before him. The girl smiles and praises Kyle for reaching her, saying he must have passed every trial in the labyrinth to stand before her. Kyle immediately hushes her, worried the others might hear them. The girl only smirks and continues teasing him, asking if he even knows who she is. Kyle cuts her off again and calmly speaks her name, Sildonia. He explains that she is a living weapon, created by a queen who once ruled the ancient magic kingdom of Sea, and that she carries a fragment of the queen's knowledge, meant to guide and judge those who seek her. Sildonia pauses, clearly surprised that he knows so much, and asks how he learned it, but Kyle shakes his head and tells her there is no time to explain. She nods and returns to the gemstone set into the hilt, allowing Kyle to lift the sword. The moment he does, Sildonia quietly searches his memories, and everything becomes clear to her at once. His previous life, the war, the suffering, and the impossible journey through time. When she appears again, her eyes are wide with shock, realizing the truth. Time magic really worked. Kyle confirms it, but before they can say more, the sound of footsteps echoes through the stone chamber as the others arrive. Kyle quickly tells Sildonia to act normal because he is not ready to reveal the truth yet, and she agrees without question. When the group enters, Kyle casually announces that he has found a legendary talking sword, and Sildonia smoothly plays along, greeting everyone as if nothing unusual has happened. She even sits with them and happily eats cookies that Lise made while answering their curious questions. She explains that she is part of the ancient queen who created the dungeon, left behind to test those who came searching for its treasure, and that if Kyle had failed, she would have activated a trap powerful enough to destroy the entire labyrinth. Because he succeeded, however, she gives him the sword and a special magic bag connected to the dungeon's vault, allowing him to carry all the treasure safely. With money no longer a concern, the group soon sets out for the capital. Once they arrive, Kyle immediately takes the lead and suggests upgrading their equipment before anything else, guiding them straight to the finest weapon shop in the city. At the entrance, the receptionist greets them with a cold expression and asks for either a trusted reference or a large entry fee, since the shop only serves verified buyers. Remembering this from his previous life, Kyle pays the required fee using rare coins, covering the entire group. Inside, the owner welcomes them politely, while Sildonia walks beside Kyle and begins commenting on the ancient weapons displayed around the shop, casually mentioning that she remembers the blacksmiths who forged some of them. Realizing she might reveal too much, Kyle quickly distracts her with snacks to keep her quiet. He then walks toward a set of elite armor, crafted from dragon hide and phoenix feathers, and buys it without even hesitating at the price, telling the others to choose whatever equipment they want. Lise selects a powerful pair of gauntlets, Urza finds a magical amulet that matches her abilities, and Theron picks out some armor. Kyle asks the shop owner to show him their collection of magic stones. The owner brings out one capable of casting explosive magic, and Kyle immediately takes it before asking for something effective against reptile-type monsters. The owner nods and presents a blizzard-type stone, which Kyle also adds to the purchase. He continues without slowing down, requesting every healing potion the shop has available. The total climbs rapidly, and the shop owner's hands begin to shake as he calculates the cost. But Kyle pays the entire amount without hesitation. With their equipment prepared, the group leaves the shop, and Theron starts to worry that people in the capital might begin talking about them after such a massive purchase. Kyle reminds him that it doesn't matter since they are leaving the city the next day. That answer only makes Theron panic, and he immediately runs off into the night to enjoy the city while he still can. Lise and Urza decide to explore the lively streets together, leaving Sildonia behind with Kyle. She begins asking him for more snacks, but he gently stops her because something else is on his mind. Inside their quiet hotel room, Kyle asks the question that has been on his mind. Can the future truly be changed? Sildonia explains that small details may change, but major events, such as the impending demon invasion, will still occur unless someone stops them. That answer is enough for Kyle, and he soon realizes something important. Even if he brought the divine dragon's heart from the ruined future, this world's version of it might still exist, and is possibly still in the Demon King's hands. Sildonia listens and slowly shares an old theory from her kingdom. Long ago, their scholars experimented with a forbidden spell meant to fuse two souls together in order to increase magical power. But the ritual always failed. Something always went wrong. Then she looks at Kyle and wonders what happened to the soul that originally belonged to this world's Kyle. The answer comes to him instantly. His soul never replaced it. The two became one. Sildonia stares at him in stunned silence, because he has accidentally succeeded where her entire kingdom failed. A perfect and complete soul fusion. Kyle remembers the strange moment earlier when his power suddenly increased, and now everything makes sense. Curious but uneasy, he asks if there could be side effects, but Sildonia can only shake her head, because no one in history has ever achieved something like this before. Later that night, Lise and Urza share a quiet room, where Lise quickly falls asleep while Urza sits by the window under the moonlight, sipping a small glass of wine and reflecting on their journey. Her thoughts eventually drift toward Kyle, and a faint smile appears on her face before she suddenly remembers something important. The full moon is tonight, and the ritual meant to protect her true name must be completed before sunrise. At the same time, far outside town in the woods, Kyle finishes another exhausting training session with Sildonia, testing the weapon's power and feeling how perfectly balanced it is compared to anything he once used. Urza soon arrives in a hurry and reminds him about the ritual. Kyle groans, exhausted and hoping to delay it, but Urza insists because it cannot wait another month. Reluctantly, he agrees, and the ritual begins. Magic flows between them, and when the final step requires Kyle to kiss her, Urza freezes in shock, because in her culture, such a kiss is meant only for marriage. Afterward, Kyle gathers the group and tells them their next destination will be Arkan. He uses Sildonia as an excuse, claiming that she has seen a vision guiding them there. When they arrive, the city is alive with celebration because a noblewoman named Milena, who will one day become queen, is visiting. The streets shine with festivity, completely unaware of the tragedy about to unfold. Later, Kyle quietly explains the truth to Sildonia. In 2 days, a Hydra will attack, and Milena will die, and the blame will fall on her half-brother Caranus, who will take the throne afterward and rule poorly. This time, however, Kyle intends to change that fate. He plans to save Milena, help her become queen, and with her support, gain the royal influence he needs to rise as the hero capable of stopping the future war. Kyle reveals that Milena is in real danger, once again leaning on Sildonia's fabricated prophecy to make his warning believable. The lie lands perfectly, and Theron believes him right away. Instead of questioning anything, Theron proudly says he will just follow the princess wherever she goes, even bragging about how good he is at stalking women. Kyle stays quiet, though the thought annoys him. He can only hope this idiot does not ruin the plan he has worked so carefully to set up. The next day, Milena's convoy leaves town, and Kyle's group watches from the bushes as it moves along the road. The girls wonder how they can follow without being seen, but Sildonia quickly says she has it handled. In an instant, she turns into a hawk, surprising everyone. She explains that her body is just a magical form tied to the gemstone in the sword, so she can change it whenever she wants. While she flies above the convoy, the group can see everything through the gem. For a moment, they get distracted joking about how such an ability could be used, but Sildonia cuts them off and warns them to focus. The situation below is starting to go wrong. Without warning, the carriage drivers attack the guards, and chaos ensues. Seeing this, Kyle rushes in without hesitation. By the time he reaches the convoy, the guards have already been defeated, and the traitors are starting a ritual to summon monsters. They turn to face him, but Kyle moves too fast. Using his speed skill, he knocks them out before they can react, and ties them up for later. At the same time, Theron checks the carriage, and finds Princess Milena alive, but unconscious. Kyle tells him to stay and protect her, but just then, a hyena monster jumps out from the trees. Kyle cuts it down quickly, only for a whole pack to appear and surround them, attacking not just the group, but also the unconscious guards. The fight continues, and Kyle asks Theron to drive the carriage to safety, but Theron realizes the reins have been cut and need to be fixed first. In that moment, Kyle suddenly senses something much worse coming their way, a Hydra. He understands right away how dangerous the situation has become and tells everyone that protecting the princess is now their top priority. He orders Theron and the girls to take Malena and leave, while he stays behind to face the monster alone. The girls do not like the idea, but Kyle calmly tells them he is not acting carelessly and that he can win. After a brief hesitation, Urza chooses to trust him, and that decision settles it, and while they escape with the princess, Kyle turns and runs toward the approaching Hydra, ready to face it on his own. Sildonia asks Kyle if he is really sure he can defeat a monster like this on his own. Kyle answers honestly that it depends on how many heads the Hydra has. The more heads it has, the stronger it becomes. He says he can handle one with 3 heads, maybe a bit more. But when the monster finally appears, his confidence falters. The Hydra rising before him has 8 heads, each one moving with deadly intent. Still, there is no time to run. He steadies himself and decides to see the fight through. The Hydra attacks, but its movements are simple and direct, making them easy for Kyle to dodge. Then it changes tactics and breathes out thick poison, spreading it across the ground. Kyle quickly wraps himself in his special robe, using it as a shield. The poison kills every plant it touches in seconds, turning the land around them lifeless. But Kyle remains unharmed, thanks to his strong gear. Seeing an opening, he pulls out a blizzard magic stone and throws it at the monster. The freezing blast slows the Hydra down, locking its massive body in place for a moment. Kyle follows up without wasting time, throwing an explosion stone that tears into the Hydra's scales and opens a deep wound. He rushes forward, aiming for that weak spot. With a clean strike, he cuts off one of the Hydra's heads, but to his frustration, it grows back almost instantly. He keeps fighting the same way, freezing, attacking, cutting, but every effort feels wasted as the heads keep returning. Soon, he runs out of blizzard stones, and despite all the damage he has dealt, the Hydra shows no real sign of weakening. Realizing this cannot go on, Kyle prepares his final plan. Using his speed skill, he dashes forward, hiding an explosion stone in his hand. The Hydra cannot react in time. He pierces through its chest, forces the wound open, and shoves several activated explosion stones deep inside its body before being struck and thrown back. Pain shoots through him as he hits the ground, but he forces himself to stand. The Hydra moves toward him again. Then suddenly, the stones explode all at once, tearing the monster apart from the inside. And as the remains collapse, Sildonia remarks that he should have done that sooner to save his magic stones. Still, Kyle shakes his head and replies that it was a last resort, a dangerous move he cannot rely on often, though he is glad it worked this time. Not long after Kyle leaves, Urza and the others finish off the remaining monsters. They decide to go after him and offer support, but before they can move far, Kyle returns from the forest. He looks tired, casually telling them the Hydra was a tough fight. The girls feel relieved. They pinch their noses and complain that he reeks of burnt Hydra meat and desperately needs a bath. Kyle turns and goes to clean himself. Nearby, Theron is still struggling to fix the carriage, while the princess and her servants remain unconscious. Kyle, now back, studies them and suspects poison, asking the girls to give them antidotes. As they begin treating them, Theron hands him a small pouch he found near the scene. Kyle examines it and quickly realizes the truth. It is a monster summoning item. This was never a random attack, but a planned assassination made to look like one. Far away, Prince Caranus receives news that the attempt has failed, and beside him stands Melena's own bodyguard, Zentos, who has been working with him all along. Without hesitation, Zentos decides to send another squad to finish what they started. By evening, Melena slowly regains consciousness, confused and unable to believe she is still alive. Urza gently tells her to stay calm, but Melena's voice trembles as she admits she thought she would never wake up again. She looks at Kyle and the others, asking if they were the ones who saved her. Before anyone else can answer, Theron jumps in and tries to take all the credit, only to be knocked out instantly by a single punch from Lisa. With that settled, Kyle steps forward and properly introduces himself, explaining that they are traveling adventurers who saw her convoy under attack and came to help. Just then, Melena's maid, Arka, wakes up and immediately places herself between the princess and the group, ready to defend her. Melena reassures her that they can be trusted and steps outside to see what happened. Kyle warns her that the scene is not pleasant, but she does not hesitate. The moment she sees the battlefield, her expression hardens, and she begins examining the bodies of the drivers, while Kyle explains how the attack unfolded. Then, Sildonia suddenly warns that a squad of royal knights is approaching. Kyle relays this, and Melena's calm breaks. She urgently says they must leave at once, because those knights will kill not only her, but also everyone with her. When Kyle asks why her own kingdom would want her dead, she answers without doubt. Zentos is behind it. Though he struggles to believe it, her certainty leaves no room for argument. Acting quickly, Milena orders Arca to burn all the bodies, hoping the knights will mistake the scene as proof that the assassination succeeded and waste time identifying the remains. Every second matters now. She tells her maid to prepare the carriage and asks Kyle and his group to come with her so she can explain everything on the way. Just as they are about to leave, Theron casually throws the monster summoning pouch into the fire as well, thinking the chaos it creates might slow the knights even further. Inside the carriage, Kyle looks straight at Princess Milena and asks her to confirm something important. Whether Zentos, the commander of the Royal Knights 2nd Battalion, is truly trying to kill her. Milena answers without hesitation, and adds that Zentos is working together with her half-brother, Prince Caranus. Theron and Urza are shocked, but Kyle still struggles to accept it. Zentos is supposed to be loyal, someone trusted with her safety, and the idea that he would turn against her feels hard to believe. Milena then explains how she learned the truth. The day before, someone slipped sleeping medicine into her drink, and as she slowly lost consciousness, she saw and heard everything clearly. Zentos and Caranus stood nearby, speaking openly, believing she could no longer understand them. They said she would not wake up until the next evening, and by then, she would already be inside a monster's stomach. Milena admits she always knew her brother wanted her gone, but she believed he lacked the courage to act. What she never expected was Zentos siding with him. She also explains that her usual guards, the all-female 5th Battalion, had been called away to the capital, leaving her under the protection of Zentos and his men for this journey. Kyle listens carefully, then points out the obvious. Since the first plan failed, Zentos must already be preparing a second plan. Milena agrees, and Kyle quickly connects the rest. If Zentos succeeds, he will frame Kyle's group as the killers, turning them into criminals. He also realizes that by sharing all of this, Milena has made sure they cannot walk away now. They are already involved. Milena gives a faint smile, pleased that he understands, and suggests they work together to survive, promising a reward once they reach the capital safely. Kyle calmly replies that they are not after money or status. They only care about honor and making a name for themselves. They begin discussing their next move. Milena suggests waiting for help, explaining that her 5th Battalion will arrive in Arkin the next day and start searching for her. She believes they are strong enough to stand against Zentos' forces, especially in public. Theron suggests hiding in a nearby village, but Kyle immediately shuts that idea down, warning that Zentos would likely destroy the entire village just to get to them. Instead, Kyle proposes returning to Archon, where the large population would offer some protection and allow them to meet the 5th Battalion sooner. Though Milena worries about running into their enemies on the way, Kyle assures her they will handle it if it happens. After stopping to gather supplies, he sends Sildonia ahead to scout, and she reports that Zentos is not among the knights pursuing them, easing the tension slightly. Milena is impressed by their abilities, the intelligent sword, the magic stones, and even the high-quality healing potions Lise gives her, and quietly wonders who they really are. Kyle simply answers that they are just a group of aspiring heroes. Far away, Prince Caranus rages over the failed plan, while Zentos remains calm, promising that the next attempt will not fail. Back in the forest, the pursuing knights finally catch sight of Milena's carriage. The vice captain quickly orders his men to shoot the horses and stop them. Just as they raise their bows, several magic stones fall from the sky and land in front of them. For a brief moment, the knights hesitate, confused. Then the stones explode. More blasts rain down from above, throwing their formation into chaos. The vice captain shouts for his men to regroup, while Kyle drives the carriage straight toward him. The vice captain rolls out of the way and orders his soldiers to fire, but the attack is already breaking apart. From the carriage, Urza and Theron strike back, helping Kyle clear a path through the scattered knights. Together, they push forward and break through the line without much trouble. Once they reach a safer distance, they stop briefly to drink healing potions, but the moment does not last. The carriage suddenly jerks and collapses, its wheel broken. With no time to fix it, they abandon it and continue on foot, while Kyle turns to Urza and explains that someone has to stay behind. If the knights keep chasing them, they will be trapped at the city gates. Urza protests, saying it is too dangerous, but Kyle stays calm and says there are only about 30 knights left, manageable, as long as they are delayed. He makes it clear he is not risking his life this time, then turns to Theron and tells him to hold them back. Theron agrees without thinking. Kyle then asks Urza to cast a wind spell to speed them up, and as the group runs off, Theron finally realizes what is happening. Panic sets in as he calls out to them, but Kyle simply tells him to do his best. Soon, the knights arrive, and instead of fighting, Theron immediately waves a white flag and surrenders. He begs for his life, blaming everything on Kyle, offering money, and even the location of a dungeon in exchange for mercy. The vice captain barely reacts. When his men report the empty carriage, he decides the princess is the real priority and orders them to move on, telling his soldiers to deal with Theron. Desperate, Theron clings to the vice captain and promises to do anything to survive, but this only angers the man further. The vice captain decides to kill him personally. However, the one who dies is not Theron. Before the vice captain can strike, Theron moves first and kills him in a single blow. The mood shifts instantly. He turns to the remaining knights and calmly says that taking out the leader is the best way to start a fight. As they stare in shock, he removes his gloves, then the heavy rings and bracelet that had been weighing him down. Freed from the extra weight, his movements become faster and sharper. He cuts through the charging knights with ease, then throws a magic stone near the horses, causing an explosion that sends them running and leaves the knights stranded. After taking down several more, he suddenly stops, drops his sword, and tells the rest that his job was only to delay them. With their leader gone and no horses left, they cannot catch the princess. He tells them to leave while they still can. The knights, seeing no way to win, turn to go, but the moment their backs are turned, Theron attacks without mercy, finishing them off before finally sitting down, exhausted from the fight. In the city, Zentos notices the silence and understands that his men have failed. Without hesitation, he decides to handle things himself. Leaving a few knights behind to guard Prince Caranus, he rides out alone into the forest. Sildonia spots him first and warns Kyle, but Zentos notices her presence and strikes her down with a single energy attack. Even so, she reports back that he is extremely powerful. Hearing this, Kyle immediately stops the group and tells Lise and Urza to stay with the princess. If things go wrong, they are to run and find Theron. Milena watches him closely and asks if he is truly planning to face one of the kingdom's strongest knights alone. Kyle answers simply, he did not want this fight, but now he has no choice. She studies him for a moment, uneasy, questioning why he speaks as if he already knows Zentos, and whether their meeting was really just luck. In the end, she pushes those thoughts aside, thanking him instead. Kyle promises he will return, then walks ahead to face what is coming. By dawn, Zentos arrives where Kyle waits. He steps off his horse and calmly asks if Kyle is the one protecting the princess. Kyle confirms it and asks why he came alone. Zentos replies that this is a personal matter, and he does not need anyone else to finish it. Kyle makes one last attempt to stop the fight, asking him to surrender and promising to seek a pardon from Milena, but Zentos dismisses the idea. When Kyle asks why he chose to betray her, Zentos does not answer and instead takes his stance. Kyle mirrors him. Both strengthen themselves with magic, then rush forward at the same time. Kyle avoids the first strike, an illusion meant to mislead, and evades the real attack hidden behind it, already expecting it. He counters and lands a hit, cracking Zentos' magic shield. For the first time, Zentos is surprised, unable to understand how someone could read his moves so easily, unaware that Kyle already knows all about his fighting style from his previous life. Kyle soon realizes he is no match for his old master. Zentos drives him back with ease, then rains down energy blasts that throw Kyle off balance and leave him struggling to keep his footing. Then, Zentos moves in for the finishing strike, but Kyle escapes by stepping on his sword and springing away. Zentos is furious at the disrespect shown to a warrior's weapon, but Kyle only says he learned the move from his own master before hurling an explosion magic stone at him. Zentos reacts instantly and knocks the stone back, forcing Kyle to absorb the blast himself. As Kyle reels from the impact, Zentos attacks again, but their swords clash and his blade cracks. He retreats at once, realizing that Kyle now has the better weapon. Kyle tells Zentos again to surrender, saying he does not want him to die. Zentos answers that the easiest way for that to happen is for Kyle to die instead. With time running out, he gathers his full power, and a terrifying aura rises around him. Kyle steadies himself and prepares for the clash. They charge. Zentos parries Kyle's strike and answers with all his strength, but his sword shatters against the divine dragon's heart hidden in Kyle's chest, the protection that has guarded him all along. In that moment, Zentos understands that he has lost the advantage. Kyle moves in and delivers the killing blow to his old friend, slashing him across the chest. Zentos falls to his knees, bleeding heavily. With a heavy heart, Kyle apologizes and says there are things he must protect at all costs, even if it means killing old friend. Tears rise in his eyes, because Zentos is one of the people he wanted to protect most, but by then, it is already too late. Back in the city, the 5th Battalion arrests Prince Karenas. Princess Milena then formally introduces Kyle and his party to her father, King Ramonis. For the public, the kingdom spreads an official story claiming that Zentos and the entire 2nd Battalion die heroically while protecting the royal family from monsters. In a grand ceremony, Kyle is honored as a hero of the Zergus kingdom for his bravery. Behind closed doors, the truth is very different. King Ramonis himself has orchestrated the assassination attempt against his own daughter. In a flashback, his jealousy and fear become clear as he worries that Milena will become a far better queen than he ever was a king, erasing his own name from history. Kyle already knows the truth. In private, he confronts the king in his room and reminds him of the reckless choices that have caused so much suffering. He tells Ramonis that Zentos' final words confirmed his betrayal, then throws him from the balcony and kills him, making the death look like an accident. The official story later claims that the king died of a sudden heart attack. With her father gone, Milena reveals another secret to Kyle. Ramonis had arranged a hidden engagement between her and Prince Mazer of the Gargan Empire. The deal would have given her father control of Karan City, a strategic border city between the two kingdoms. Milena now plans to refuse the engagement, and she asks Kyle to travel to Karan City and convince its governor to stay loyal to her instead of the Gargan Empire. Sildonia quickly points out that there must be a deeper problem in Karan, since Milena clearly wants Kyle to investigate something there. Even with the danger ahead, Kyle feels relieved to leave the capital. He sees through Milena's calm mask and understands that she is far more cunning than she appears, and that she is moving towards something much larger that he wants no part of. Before they leave, Kyle takes his team back to the elite weapon shop run by the old man Fezba, who is pleased to see him again. He congratulates Kyle on his medal and wishes him even greater success. Theron interrupts to ask whether his sword has been repaired, and Fezba presents the finished blade, saying his best craftsman worked on. When Theron asks whether he has anything better, the shopkeeper apologizes and says he does not, though he promises to use his connections to find a superior weapon. Kyle then asks whether Fezba knows anything about Karan, since that is their next destination. Fezba says it is a difficult place, explaining that the Blacksmith Guild controls the city and has caused many problems there, making business hard for everyone. Even so, he says things have improved somewhat since Karan became part of the Empire. Kyle thanks him for the warning, and Fezba adds that Theron may find a sword worthy of him in Karan, since the city has a long and rich tradition of weapon making. After that, Kyle and Theron rejoin the girls, and the group heads out for Karan. Kyle and his party arrive at the city-state of Karen after several days of travel, and the sight before them leaves everyone stunned. The city is built into a massive mountain, yet something about it feels unnatural. Syl appears and explains the truth. Long ago, during the golden age of magic, Karen began as a military outpost built to defend humanity against demons. Later, when enormous ore veins were discovered underground, ancient mages used powerful magic to pull the resources to the surface, shaping the mountain itself around the city. Just then, Wyvern Knights from the Gargan Empire fly overhead toward Karen, and Theron mutters that he hopes they have nothing to do with their mission. Inside the city, the party heads to the embassy, where a gatekeeper checks their documents while Urza covers her ears, because many dwarves in Karen dislike elves. Ambassador Miranda arrives to greet them, and Kyle freezes at the sight of her because he remembers her from his past life. Lise pushes him forward to introduce himself. Kyle presents Queen Milena's letter. Miranda verifies it and remarks that sending a newly named hero as a messenger is exactly like Milena. She once taught the queen diplomacy. She thanks them for saving Milena's life. Then her tone turns serious. The governor of Karen has been gravely ill and refuses all meeting. Kyle realizes how difficult this mission will be. Miranda assures him the governor can't ignore an official envoy forever. She escorts them toward the governor's residence. Theron wanders off to explore the market. Miranda warns the group not to provoke the Gargan embassy. She can't protect them there. Moments later, the old Gargan ambassador arrives with a refined man named Alzard, the Empire's second second highest court wizard. He also seeks the governor. Miranda insists Karen belongs to the Zergus kingdom. The exchange grows tense, but she suggests they visit together. Alzard agrees. He turns to Kyle. He has heard of Kyle's deeds. He also knew Kyle's mother from their years studying magic together. Kyle grows wary. At the governor's mansion, a servant refuses entry, claiming the governor is too sick. Miranda loses patience. She warns that if the governor can't perform his duties, he will be replaced. The servant nervously denies them anyway. Later, Miranda admits she fears the Gargan Empire will seize influence through intimidation. She decides the best candidate for a stronger leader is Gazus, Karen's greatest blacksmith. Meanwhile, Theron roams the city, bored. No attractive women, no worthy weapons. Then a scream. He finds thugs harassing someone in an alley. He beats them down, only to discover the victim is a boy named Go, who just looks like a girl. Frustrated, Theron tries to leave, but he asks if Go has an older sister just as cute. Go says yes. Theron stays. The thugs return. He beats them again. Go explains he's an artificer who makes magical items. The attackers were debt collectors. He borrowed money for a project that may take 10 years. Theron barely listens. He just wants to meet the sister. Go admits she's already married. He lied to keep Theron around. Furious, Theron punches him. Miranda visits Gazus, but the blacksmith refuses politics. Then, Theron arrives with Go, who is Gazus' son. Go invites everyone for tea. He explains he's fully human. His mother had him and his sister before marrying Gazus. She died years ago. Now his sister is married. Only the two of them remain. While waiting, Kyle notices a blueprint. He recognizes it. Go says it's an ancient magical weapon he's trying to restore. Kyle is shocked. In his previous life, he saw massive combat golems like this during the Demon War. They fought better than whole squads, though the technology was lost after the Empire's collapse. Go is the genius who created them. Kyle calls Syl. She confirms the blueprint is accurate and advanced. Without hesitation, Kyle throws down a bag of coins to fund the project. Go happily accepts. Kyle warns him to keep it secret and repay his investors. Miranda fails to convince Gazus to become governor. Before leaving, Kyle asks if Gazus can forge a better sword for Theron. Gazus refuses, but Go persuades him to listen. Theron asks for a sword comparable to Kyle's. Kyle reveals his blade. Gazus stares in disbelief. He recognizes it as legendary and admits he can't create anything similar. Only one other weapon like it exists. He ends the conversation and orders everyone out. Later, Kyle reflects with Syl. Failing to recruit Gazus is fine. The golem designs are far more important. In his previous life, Go likely never completed the project and eventually sold the blueprints to the Gargan Empire to cover his debts. Kyle briefly considers cooperating with the Empire, but growing tensions make that too dangerous. The next morning, Alzard visits Kyle, speaks of knowing his mother. He invites Kyle and his companions to lunch and even offers a wyvern ride, which shocks Kyle because wyvern riding skills are supposed to be a state secret. Alzard explains that Kyle's mother created the method, which is why he knows it. He then grows nostalgic as he talks about her. After he leaves, Syl notes that Alzard possesses overwhelming magical talent and may one day cast special grade spells. That evening, Kyle accepts dinner with Alzard and brings Miranda instead of his friends since they lack manners. But as they approach the dining room, Kyle suddenly feels a powerful evil presence, rushes inside, and finds blood everywhere with Alzard dead on the table and a demon woman standing nearby. Kyle angrily confronts the demon woman. Few people in this era can identify demons or know their true strength, but her twisted horn and suffocating aura leave no room for doubt. He is not ready for this fight. No sword, no armor, only half his magic, but he has no choice. The demon sighs, unleashes her claws, and charges. Kyle blocks with his forearm and blasts her back with a burst of magic, forcing a grin. He taunts her, but inside he knows he is losing. Then guards arrive, and the demon flees. Kyle frowns. Why would a demon run from mere humans? He cannot chase her. He turns to Alzard's corpse and finds dozens more dead soldiers and embassy staff, all killed in silence, no witnesses left behind. Meanwhile, Go learns golem crafting from Syl, the spirit of the sword Sildonia. Syl praises his sharp mind, and Go asks how old she is. But before she can answer, Lisi calls them for tea. During tea, Go asks about Kyle. Urza explains that Kyle went to lunch with Alzard, a high-ranking official from the Gargan Empire, and left the others behind because of their poor manners. Theron sighs repeatedly, still bitter about failing to get a new sword from the blacksmith Gazus. Then, he gets an idea and asks Go about a sword as powerful as Sildonia. Go remembers the holy sword Rand, forged 2,000 years ago in Karen by a legendary dwarf. A hero used it to kill a demon lord, and the sword took his name. Go says Rand is probably still in the city, maybe with the governor. Theron lights up, but Go warns it is a national treasure, nearly impossible to steal. Theron ignores him and asks if Go has any real enemies, because he senses 10 people with bloodlust surrounding the house. Theron kicks the door open, knocking out 2 thugs instantly. He grabs another by the collar, demands to know who sent them, then knocks him out when the man panics. Theron tells the rest to run, but they attack instead, which displeases him. 2 thugs slip inside, but Urza and Lys are ready. Urza spots poison on their knives and warns Lys, who knocks one out with a clean punch. The other thug swings at Urza, but her water spirit blocks the blade and traps him in a bubbling sphere until he drowns in air and passes out. They tie up the captives, and Go trembles at their ease with violence. Theron returns with another thug and starts interrogation. When the man refuses to talk, Theron lies that Urza and Lys are torture specialists. Lys can turn anything into a tool of pain, and Urza is a sadist who uses healing potions to make suffering last forever. Theron offers the thug a chance. Confess now and live before the others wake up and steal the deal. The thug breaks. Their mission: kidnap Go and kill anyone in the way. Go remembers the recent kidnappings across the city. Theron asks where the victims go. The thug says they are dropped at an abandoned house outside the city. Theron calls them stupid for attacking in daylight, and the thug snaps back that they are usually sneakier, but they thought killing outsiders would be easy. Then a demon arrives outside and charges a massive magic attack. Theron shouts a warning, everyone ducks, but the thug takes the blast directly and dies. The rest survive the explosion. Lys and Urza move to chase the attacker, but Theron stops them. The enemy is too strong. Syl emerges from Go's pocket, eating snacks, and confirms it was a demon. Even if they all charged together, they could not win. Later, Kyle and Miranda rejoin the group, and they trade news. Miranda says the situation is grim. The Gargan Empire will likely accuse the Zergus Empire of allying with demons to kill Alzard, using it as diplomatic leverage. Syl warns that demons could destroy the entire city easily, so they must tread carefully. Kyle suggests they first investigate the kidnappings and the governor's possible role. Miranda admits she suspects the governor too, but finds it hard to believe he would harm his own citizens. Just then, a servant rushes in. The governor's mansion is on fire. They arrive to find it completely burned, the governor's body missing. The fire looks like an attempt to hide evidence. Miranda notes the governor was too sick to move, so his disappearance proves something shady. Lys asks if demons did it, but Kyle and Miranda agree demons are too proud for arson. The governor must be the real suspect. Miranda insists they find him quickly. Kyle remembers that in his past life, Miranda's strategic mind and logistical skill made her invaluable in the war against demons. Go arrives, panicked. Gazus was summoned by the governor just before the fire and is now missing. Kyle realizes the governor targeted Gazus as a potential replacement. Miranda falls to her knees, weeping and blaming herself for nominating Gazus. Kyle recalls another memory. In his previous life, Miranda once got drunk and confessed that her lover died because of her, and she has suppressed her emotions ever since. He understands now. Miranda and Gazus are dating. Go already knows and explains their relationship to the others. Kyle tends to Miranda, who burns with fever. He remembers drunk Miranda mumbling about finding an underground passage sooner. That is the clue. He puts on his armor at once and asks Urza to search the burned mansion's underground passage. Theron joins, hoping to find the holy sword Rand, and Lys comes too. Kyle tells Go to stay and care for Miranda while they hunt for the passage.
And that is it for today. If you enjoyed this recap, please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and feel free to write whatever you want in the comments section. Thank you for watching.